Hello and welcome to Bloke on the Range, and we haven't done a Q&A for a while, so kind of impromptu staying over at Shade Chappie on a Saturday night, and I put out a call on Patreon for questions, and I thought I put out a call on Player. I hadn't clicked the right option before I clicked save, so it hasn't gone out. I've just made it live. If anyone manages to get any questions in before we do it, I'm terribly sorry for those who support on Player. I had promised I was going to do it. I thought I had done it. Mea culpa.
All right. Before we get in, shall we wet the whistle?
Yeah, the medicinal.
Yeah. 2018 Malvoisie. There's a Johannesburg vintage found down the back of the sofa.
Probably. I bought it from Landy.
This is it's a true sign of quality.
Yeah, and it was amidst a whole load of 2021, so I think it was literally found down the back of some cattle feed or some udder grease or something.
Yep. Right,
so we've got a bunch of questions here. There's a couple of people asked personal ones, which I'm afraid we're not going to go into for personal reasons.
Yep.
Surprisingly. Santé.
Cheers.
Cheers. That's all right. I was a bit worried it was going to be vinegar after 5 years.
Yeah, I never know.
Yeah.
Good.
So one of the greatest Swiss inventions is the breathable membrane in the screw cap.
Screw caps, yeah.
So screw cap wine is no longer a sign of a bad quality, like garbage tier Liebfrau milk.
As West Swiss Army knives don't have corkscrews anymore.
Yeah. Very little wine here. Consumer grade wine has corks anymore.
No. Yeah.
And those that do have corks have the plastic ones. So, Thomas.
Starting. Thomas!
Brit in Switzerland, but points east of here. Very sensible question here. What rifle should Switzerland adopt to replace the Sturmgewehr 90? Current production, past production, or fantasy? So, should we give Pascal's answer first?
Yeah.
So, Pascal thinks it should be the B&T APC 223, which has something going for it because that's produced domestically. They have a decent amount of production, and he reckons it's conscript proof.
Yep, he has one and he's run it.
Yep.
So he's got hands on, and being still active member, he's used it in. I don't think he's been allowed to use it in actual training, but he knows how it handles in those conditions.
Yep, he shot it in dynamic matches. He knows what it's like. He says that it's big advantage over what I would naturally say, which is a modern AR-15 variant, and we can argue whether it should be piston or direct gas, and then that comes down to, are we going to have suppressors as a standard or common item, which would favour going for piston, but if we're not, that would favour direct gas. His main complaint about that is the firing pin retaining pin, the little split pin. He thinks that will get lost in a conscript army with a bunch of people that handle their rifles not very often, keep them at home, probably bring them out for Feldschießen, Obligatorisches, and then a repeat course.
Yeah.
He reckons it would go missing. My solution to that is, if it does go missing, include them with the cleaning kit, because
this is a complete noob AR-15 question, but can that be modified to be a captive pin of some sort?
You could. The early AR-10 ones were a solid pin, non-captive, but they were changed to a split pin because it's actually more robust and it's super cheap. So if it goes wrong, replace it. It's the sort of thing you should have in your kit anyway.
I think you'd have in the grip.
Yeah, it's like that. Well, to me, is a non-problem. The problem with making it captive is you're seriously complicating a very, very simple thing.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking.
And then if it's out and you bend it, but it's like there's other conscript armies that manage with ARs, and American Private Snuffy is not necessarily.
Yeah. I mean,
Private Snuffy copes.
Yeah, this may surprise you, but I think I completely agree with you. There's nothing wrong with the AR-15. I keep on saying this, despite not having one. And logistically, with the surrounding countries, it makes absolute sense.
I mean, the thing is, if you look at what everyone else is adopting, the Swedes have adopted a Sacco AR-15. The Brits, as for the special types, have just adopted an AR-15. The Germans have adopted an AR-15 after a bit of a bit of sort of patent
Shenanigans.
warfare, shenanigans. I actually read the decisions. There's some degree of shenanigans going on. So an AR-15 won the trials, and it's ended up with another AR-15, as in the AK-417. The French have adopted the HK-417, which is another AR-15 derivative.
Yeah.
The Finns are probably going to adopt the RK-23, which is what the Swedes have adopted. The Norwegians.
The days of my country's special, so I'm going to have this rifle are long gone.
Yeah, the Danes have got C7s. The Dutch have got C7s. Everyone is sort of in the West is kind of coalescing around either a piston or a DI AR-15 variant derivative. So it makes a lot of sense. And fundamentally, there's a reason why they're so dominant. There's a reason why they're dominant on the competition scene and on the military scene. And what's fascinating, as a little tangent, is I'm loving the fact that the Knight's armament that the Brits have bought is basically 5 years ago's competition rifle. The RK-23 is very much a competition. We've got the military following the competition world again with a bit of lag, which is really cool to see that there's that cross-pollination, and it's us civvy range monkeys that have actually been driving it.
Yeah, it started a couple of years back. It's funny.
Yeah. Well, there's been military driving the civilians, and then civilians driving the military, back and forth. But I think that's probably a question for the time. Someone should ask that question for next time, otherwise we'll be here all night, because that's just absolutely fascinating. Next up, Judas. Who are the best band in the world, and why is it Thin Lizzy? Chairman says you spelled Sabaton wrong. Jude says you spelled Thin Lizzy wrong. You're all wrong. It's Porcupine Tree.
I'm not even going to answer that.
Yeah. Rob asks... No, that's a personal one. We're not doing that. Sorry. Sorry, Rob. So, next one's for you.
All right. Any information on how well the Norwegian Kammerlader Lund conversion worked? How it worked, it's very easy. They kept the lever on the side of the Kammerlader, and there is now a tilting breech block that lifts back and up. And as they've put in a little sliding extractor inside the breech block, and you load it just like a normal rifle. So it's going to be slow, but there's no reason why it wouldn't work any worse than any of the other trapdoor type rifles they had at the time.
They're all kludgy.
Don't have one.
They're all kludgy. All the conversions.
That's what makes them fascinating.
I know, it's brilliant. It's brilliant. They're all different ways of trying to achieve the same end, and they're all varying degrees of kludgy. Yeah.
At least the Lund is they based it on the small caliber Kammerlader, the one that came later. They're around 12mm, so you don't have this big chunky. It's a 45-70-ish cartridge.
As they
all are. Yeah.
I mean, there's a reason why. I mean, people argue till they're blue in the face what's better, what's not, but everything coalesces around a certain bandwidth of solutions, and we see this all the time.
Yeah. That's what I said in my Gra video. I used to reload for everything, and in the end, you just get the special national twist on the case where the shoulder is, but ultimately it's a 45 and about 70-ish grains of powder.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah, you get. I mean, certainly in this period, you get like 10.4 Vetterli at the bottom end, and you get 5.77 450 at the top end, but they're all 41 to 45. The muzzle velocity difference is not massive.
No.
I mean, within that that's not a very wide bandwidth actually. When you come down to it, and a lot of people like to play top trumps with cartridges. You see this much more in the sort of smokeless era arguments around like your country's massively overpowered. 30-ish caliber cartridge is slightly less powerful than my country's massively overpowered.
Because it makes a difference, yeah.
And now we're all like you're making this argument and then you're going and arguing 76 Super 39 versus 556, like in your next tab on your computer, and it's like,
sigh.
yeah, it's funny how over time my view on such things has become far more nuanced. It's like that it doesn't really matter.
No.
What matters is hitting with it. So, next up, Christian asks, have you guys ever tried contacting the family or person on the troop tags of your K31s? Have you gotten any cool responses? Also, you still need to do your interview with Edward Brodbeck from SDA. I think Dale is likely to do Brodbeck on his own. We had it planned for him and me to go up there, but that was during COVID time, and he was he's very aged. Dale's got his own channel now. I suspect he will do that on his own, but if he wants me to come, I will absolutely come.
Troop tags?
Troop tags.
None of my ones ever had a troop tag.
I've got a couple of rifles with troop tags. I don't think that there was much likelihood of any of the people named on them being extant. And in any case, see, this is where my view differs from a lot of people's. I am not in favour of people going and trying to contact. You sometimes get very positive responses, but there's a cultural thing here that, I mean, okay, possibly a bit tautological, but you're either going to get no response or you're going to get a fantastic response. Oh, that's brilliant. How did that rifle end up there? But there's also the risk that they're going to see it as an invasion of their privacy.
I think more and more it's going to be a case of either no response or it's going to be the next generation responding.
Yeah.
Who, we have to admit, most of them are like, oh, it's granddad's old rifle, sell it for 50 francs.
Yeah, or chuck it in a skip.
Or chuck it in a skip.
Chuck it in a skipper to throw away your old guns police thing.
There's really little interest.
Which is a shame. And there's also, I mean, particularly guys who were in active service during the war, that caused a lot of hardship for a lot of people. So the memories of that, for the few survivors or the kids who were old enough to have been there, my view is don't do it. But your mileage may vary. It's entirely up to you. But there is this thing that it might be seen as an invasion of privacy. It might bring up bad times. A lot of people did not enjoy their service at all. But you do you. But I haven't. I won't.
It's a different view because obviously we're here.
Yeah.
And the K31 is just a K31.
I think I have 5. I think I only actually paid cash money for one of them.
Yeah.
Maybe 2. I'm not sure.
All right.
So, Guido asks, obviously you would like to see it, but do you think there's a realistic chance of brutality matches will become a thing in other countries in Europe? Czech, I can see that, but in the Alps, on the majority of the EU is strict to gun laws. I doubt that, alas. So, the answer is yes. Not Germany.
No.
That's not going to happen.
Probably not France either.
France
just legally.
Yeah, I mean, France has a very strict licensing system based around strict disciplines.
Yeah.
Like formally
You see videos of training institutes or training schools which do similar things, but I don't know whether they have a more liberal license to do such things rather than organising something for the general public.
We would love to do one here, but the problem is a suitable range and getting access to it.
Yeah. This question comes up every time.
Every time. Yeah. Well, I mean, I would love to do it. We could. I mean, Geisalp, we could physically do it.
Yeah.
It would have to be limited to Swiss residents because it's the army's sandpit.
Yeah. No filming because it's the army's sandpit.
Unless we got some. I mean, someone suggested that some of the army's media types might be interested, but then it would be the army's filming.
Yeah.
It would be limited. We're not limited in terms of the type of shooting we could do. We're limited in where and when we can do it. That's the issue. There's the light infantry competition that Zhigov Polar Tactical went to in Poland.
Yeah.
I could see Poland doing that. I mean, SRR is already in Estonia. That they're trying to start it up in Sweden as well. And once you've got that going, you've got a basis for doing Brutality. So I can see it happening.
There were some Italians that approached Giga at the end of Links with wanting some advice. So maybe there's a possibility in Italy, some way. I think ultimately, if we do get more and more, each one's going to have there's little national variations due to the laws.
Yeah.
So it's going to be 10 round mags for a lot of places.
There's one site in Wales where it will be physically possible, but that would be limited in terms of the guns. It would probably have to be a one gun, or it would have to be 22 semis and shotguns.
Martini Henry. Everyone gets a Martini Henry.
And in fact, at that site, they did a physical Brutality-esque, but not at all Brutality philosophy match, which would be kind of cool. But if you want to run this kind of match, come talk to Yari Varasuleka, come talk to us, come talk to Giga, and we are slowly trying to sort of build up a database of stages and a sort of framework, an off-the-shelf framework around that on this side of the pond.
For free.
Yeah.
Just come and ask.
Just come talk to us. Next up, Eric. I don't remember if this has come up, but are there any equivalents in Switzerland/Europe in general to Sturmgewehr 57s here in the US? Interesting guns that are essentially unavailable over there and that we have easier access to in the States. I think the answer to that is the $500 garbage tier AR.
Yeah.
We don't have that. I mean, the bottom end here is, there's some Chinesium, but it's still more expensive.
What's that about? 800, 900?
Yeah, 800, 900 M forgeries from Norinco.
Yeah.
Army Jaeger were doing them, but we're at sort of $1,400 as the entry level. If you're not buying Chinesium, we're well over $1,000 bucks.
For us, it's access. It's the cost of things. If we really, really want to, we can get everything in.
Yeah.
Just throw money at it.
Yeah. There is no problem importing stuff from the States. It's just a question of throwing money at it.
Yeah. The process isn't complicated. It's literally just pay.
And certainly in Switzerland, it's very easy.
Yeah.
I know the French and the Italians have problems with bureaucracy actually doing what it's supposed to do. But in Switzerland, you chuck in some pieces of paper and pay a little bit of money, and it's done. And it's the courier that costs money. Yeah. But other things. High points. There is no market for high points here.
Yeah.
There's no point in Europe. Here in Switzerland, we can own all the guns. But in countries where they're limited with the number, there's no point in high points existing. So it's basically, there is no cheap end of the market here in the same way. What's kind of cool is that in Switzerland, there's so many old school pocket pistols for next to nothing in gun shops.
Yeah.
Known as a license filler. Because guns come in threes in Switzerland, usually. And so there's a whole market in these old pocket pistols, because there used to be a huge market for concealed carry here until 1999.
Yeah.
And so you've got 100 odd years of Swiss concealed carry, the remnants of Swiss concealed carry floating around on the
25 ACP and 32 ACP.
Yeah, little
tiny
bulldogs. I have that bulldog I have in 7.5 Swiss Ordnance. It's one of those.
Yeah. Why do you think I have 14 rubies?
Oh.
So what have you got? Oh, there's a ruby. Yeah, check that one.
Yeah, but not very much.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's all a bit different. Lost my train of thought.
Well, going back to the question, I don't think there's anything really. The thing, it's just the access to the cheap stuff, apart from AKs.
Oh yeah, we have access to cheaper AKs because we have Chinesium AKs.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm really not thinking that. I mean, nothing historic, because all the historic stuff over in the US, it's either ancient and gets here, no problems, or it's not available on the US civilian market anyway. Because once we get out of World War II, a bit after World War II, we're on the M14, and they're all NFA. And so it costs an absolute fortune. So we have Chinese-in ones. I have a Chinese-in one, it's crap. Dave asks, are there still any traditional hunting rifle competitions in Switzerland that use the old Martini Stutzer rifles in offhand/standing position? All the stuff you recorded are military rifles in the prone position. Just wondering if old-timey shoots still go on too. I'd love to see that. They do the birdie stuff still.
Yeah.
The shooting of the Papagei schießen.
The Knabenschießen, isn't it?
No, Knabenschießen is just a 300-meter thing in Zurich.
What's the shooting? What's the straight up in the air one? I can't remember.
That's the Papagei.
Papagei.
It's the parrot one.
Yeah.
It would be cool if we could get invited along to one of them to have a go at that. But in terms of shooting the historic GATs, I mean, the most historic GATs that are shot are the IG-11 and the 96-11 in the normal 300-meter stuff.
I think if there is anything, it's going to be a very, very local event. It just happens to be a couple of guys that have them, and they just make an informal comp.
Yeah. Oh, next one's not a question, it's really nice. Chairman, no questions, keep up the work, boys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dave, another Dave. Looking at that groovy 90s finger hook on the front of the MR93, so the Manurin trigger guard, makes me wonder whether actually using it that way would be a good idea. Seems like it positions part of your support hand directly below the barrel/cylinder gap. Has the chap actually tried this technique, ideally wearing protective white gloves, to see what happens?
No, I haven't, because it's far too far forward for its natural grip. Yeah, there you go.
We got some blue guns. now, your modern Glocks have that.
Yeah.
I have this terrible, awful analogy that it's like the lady performers in grown-up movies wearing awful high heels while not wearing anything else and while performing. It's one of those things that if it doesn't interest you, you don't really notice, it doesn't detract. There's no interest. But for those who like it, they really like it. Now, in terms of pistol shooting, those that like this need to get out the 90s.
This is a 90s action movie.
Because this is a real 90s thing. And it sort of made sense when people didn't know any better. Because we can apply some torque to the pistol. But the problem is, if you start doing that, you're going to start applying some torque to the pistol that, which is why nobody does it, and everyone does this. This argument was done.
This argument was done in the muzzleloading era, when the funky competition target pistols had a trigger guard spur. It is a trap. You think, oh yes, it's nice. It feels comfortable when you hold the grip.
Yeah, it feels great.
But as soon as you realise that you're putting pressure down, or to the left, to the right, whatever handed you are, and you can't get it consistent.
Yeah, it's just a flinch magnet.
Yeah.
It's a flinch magnet. It's going to encourage you to flinch, and it's going to make it worse when you do flinch because you've got more leverage to torque on. Everyone ignores them. It might be an interesting thing to do, given that it is kind of that era. I like the idea of trying it with white gloves just to see.
I mean, it's still, even without putting your hand there, your trigger hand, you still get a good gust on your hand anyway. So
I mean,
I don't know if that's going to do anything.
When I was shooting IPSC revolver back in day in the Netherlands, I had I had my modern thumb forward position, and my thumb was aligned with the cylinder gap, and it was 45 ACP, and I'd get a blackened thumb. It didn't hurt, I didn't feel it. It's just I'd finish the stage, and my thumb would be black because it was getting gassed.
Yeah.
I mean, until you're getting into the crazy revolvers, the crazy high-powered ones. That Mythbusters one where they cut sausages with the cylinder gap flash was quite something. But those are the crazy things that I'm not into anyway. I'm a bit of a wuss. 38's fine for me.
But yeah, it's something we should maybe get around to it, test.
Yeah, it'd be worth testing, just to see.
It's like, yeah.
But, I mean, with Full House 357, you might get a bit of blast.
Yeah, well, I've shot 357 as well, and it's a tiny bit hotter, but barely.
Yeah. Okay, Joshua asks, and we get this every time, I'm afraid, is there any chance we will get more of the Swiss straight pull series and more videos about the various aspects and plans of Swiss defensive strategy over the course of the late 19th, 20th century? Yes. I'm going to make the same mea culpa apology regarding this. It's day job and real life have got in the way of me doing really in-depth historical stuff that require work, and I lost my mojo, and Matthias did a really good episode on the Swiss 1911. So what I'm probably going to do with it now is a too long didn't read version of it, and then information he didn't include because he didn't have access to it or know it existed. We can explain the twist rate now. There's documentation around the twist rate. The short rifle was dropped way later than we thought, like spring 1914, which also explains the sort of delay in getting the K11s going. Because they hung on. We thought it was decided during the 1908, 1909 trials that they were going to not go for a long rifle, a short rifle, and a carbine with the same barrel length as the short rifle. But actually it was only spring 1914 that they finally decided, hey, it's a bit silly to have two rifles with the same barrel length, but just like slightly different configurations. Why don't we just not do this? And then you come up with all sorts of interesting stuff. The consequence of this, and this is such a Swiss thing, the consequence of this decision is that they couldn't recycle however many tens of thousands of slings that it was going to be, like 18,000 slings or something. So they had to get a financial credit for
some leather
for a number of extra carbine slings at 3 francs each, and all this stuff comes up. So I think I'm going to play it that way and direct people to, if they want the deep dive on the sort of general thing, they can go watch the City and Arsenal vid. I'll give the overview and the stuff that wasn't dealt with.
Save it for the vid.
But it was the twist rate was a particular batch of Altdorf ammunition that didn't perform well at long range.
All right, then we got Sopwith Camel Toe. That's an interesting name. What was the best infantry rifle in the 1950s, if the cartridge and any standard accessories are eliminated? Secondarily, if you are going to be close enough to challenge your favourite Sopwith to a rimfire duel and beat that Camel Toe with his own firearms.
Yeah. When are you going to be close enough?
Yeah.
So let's go backwards. Don't know when I'm going to next be in the States, but at some point I will. I'll try and arrange such things. Best infantry rifle in the 1950s, AR-10. AR-10. In fact, I will shortly, by the time you see this, I may already be in possession of my AR-10 back.
Slowly making its way down.
Yes, it's becoming a bit more complicated to get it back out of Finland. And also a Sudanese contract one. Now, all the M14 versus G3 versus FAL stuff is all a bit silly when the AR-10 exists, but the problem with the AR-10 is that the Hollywood ones got sabotaged in the trials in favour of the M14, and then the Dutch ones got ultimately sabotaged by the Dutch government telling Artillerie Inrichtingen that it couldn't make GATs for for everyone anymore. The Portuguese were going to adopt it for their entire armed forces. The Dutch government put the kibosh on it. And then they ended up buying G3s instead, and just the paratroopers had the Portuguese variant AR-10, which is an absolutely fantastic rifle. And then on the US side, what happened was that the Colt rep was hawking early AR-10, AR-15 stuff around Southeast Asia, and everyone was like, this Model 601, we like this. We like this. Gentlemen of shorter, lighter stature were rather enamoured of the rather lightweight Model 601. And apparently there was some telex was sent to Colt, and Colt were like, which one do we do? Do we do both? They were like, these guys down here absolutely love the 15. We need to do the 15. And then Colt said, right, we're putting all the effort into the 15, and the rest was history. And the AR-10 gets forgotten about as an infantry rifle, aside from the couple of countries that actually had them, and then comes back as a DMR and civilian rifle with the SR-25 and all the other AR-10 derivatives later on. But they're magic, and I can't wait to get them back in the hands. And thank you very much, patrons, for facilitating such things, because this is content you can't do in the States very easily, because there's not many of these, and certainly not original ones. So
you find a Sudanese one here?
Yeah, I found a Sudanese one here. In fact, there's a second one at Kessler coming up at the end, next weekend.
That's what's great about this country. Stuff just turns up.
Amazing what turns
where it
up
comes
in this
from.
Country. And every so often, there's clearly some old guy's massive collection that he's been spending 50 years on gets liquidated, and you're like,
woo!
So it's like, I could go and buy a Stem Mark 1 and a Stem Mark 1 Star right now. I know where they are. They're a bit expensive for stems, unfortunately, even if they are rare ones. And it just gets pumped into my Facebook feed because I follow the right people. There's a certain number of gun shops that people tend to favour for liquidating this sort of collection, and just like their page on Facebook, and it just gets pumped into your feed. And you're like, I don't have the budget for this right now, but I really want it.
Stop it! I said no more guns this month. Bing. Okay.
So we're going to have some fun playing with them, which will be good. And I can't wait to get mine back, because it is an undocumented transitional version. Luke, has the Brutality and SRA matches taught you anything about the weapons you use and equipment from a shooter standpoint? Also curious what your second favourite rifles and pistols are for the matches.
Second?
I've blathered too much, and I can go on for ages on this. Let's go with you. Because you're the newbie-er.
Now that's on 5 now, so I think, including the special winter one.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. What has it taught me? Well, I think the most important thing it's taught me is the importance of reliability. How important that is. Yes, the LARPing is fun.
You know, the best thing with the blue gun Glocks for Chappie is he can't put aftermarket parts in them.
Oh, just watch. Reliability, it gives you so much peace of mind going forward. The other handling errors, whatever they'll happen, whatever you're running. With getting used to it, the red dot is nice. It's very nice. It's also very helpful in doing the good enough to hit the target, not center of target.
That was something that you've had issues with getting your head around fundamentally.
It's really hard, and it's worse with iron sights, because you got to line everything up, and you're convinced that while you're lining everything up, you may as well line it up with the target properly. Whereas this dot there, bang.
There's one less thing to line up.
Yep.
And your head position matters less.
Exactly. Yeah.
There's been times when I've been behind the camera and wishing I could shout coaching advice at you, but I'm behind the camera, so I can't. But oftentimes it's it's like shoot faster and stop missing.
Yeah, and it's just getting in that phase.
Yeah.
Like that
It's hard to adjust to it.
the sandbag stage, last Brutality, I had it there. Because it was just drop to the ground, dot, bang. Next one, dot, bang, dot, bang. I wasn't
Oh, the pistol.
waiting. No, the rifle one,
Oh, the
where it's the 3 positions, then chuck a sandbag onto the back, and then
Oh, that sandbag one.
that.
Yeah,
I just
yeah.
went for it. And there I was there once. I guess also the one with the lights, because you didn't have time to think. You just had to go on instinct.
Yeah.
So it's getting there. It's hard, but it's getting there, and it's fun to gradually get better.
It's fascinating watching you get better, given that you don't shoot practical outside of this. Like literally, you've been shooting finished Brutality and Lynx Brutality. You're not a member of a dynamic club here. You don't do any other training with it.
Nope.
So the learning curve for you has been extremely steep.
Yeah.
And it's when you come from a precision shooting background, speeding up can be hard, and that's what you found. I come from a mixed background, so for me it wasn't. It was something I got in my head a long time ago, and was never an issue for me. But that was the thing for you. I think what it underlines is the importance of trigger control.
Yes.
But not in the precision shooting sense, where your trigger control has to be perfect. It's your trigger control has to be good enough to make the hits you want. And your sight picture has to be good enough to make the hits you want. And with an optic, your head position, you've got more flexibility than with irons.
Yeah.
And particularly with a red dot, and particularly if you've not mounted it out in the next county, as is fashionable, but you've got it up where you can see more of the world through it, you can get away with stuff. But you need to learn your limits of what you can get away with, because if you get it wrong, you miss.
Yep.
And you can't miss fast enough to win, but if you're going to miss fast.
Yeah.
And you've just got to find that sweet spot between all of these things pulling you in all of these other directions, while being emotional.
Yes. Absolutely. Which you may not realise until the beep at the end goes, and then
Yeah.
it goes out.
The amount of self-control over breathing and your body, and it depends on how physical the stages are, and they vary. I mean, they're mostly quite physical stages, but sometimes they're not necessarily, and they're more mentally challenging, like the dots one at Lynx, or sorry, the lights at one at Lynx,
Things
or
you
the
have to
lights
count.
at Finished Brutality. There's other things going on, but the stages that are physical, you've got to control. You've got to have a lot of self-control over that. And the thing is that when the timer beep goes, your brain goes,
Yep.
and you.
I have gun. Shoot that way. That's all it becomes.
You gotta. Then the more you do it, the easier it becomes, because you get it in your head that I've just got to concentrate on what I'm doing for 3 minutes, and sometimes the oxygen deficit you build up into 3 minutes, and then you get to the end and
That's what Yari said. All things considered, it's half an hour exercise. Come on. You're not wrong, but.
yeah. So to get a bit back to the question, you learn the ergonomic limitations, you learn the reliability limitations. It really rewards thinking about what you're doing.
In terms of kit, honestly, I'm not good enough for it to matter. That's more maybe you. See if the disposition of your kit, although this is about guns, weapons really, but equipment.
I think Brutality is not being won on fast reloads. You can lose it on a really terrible one. And the difference between the old school gear and the modern gear is massive, as I found last time running, like circa 1980.
Yeah, the new, I guess, seems to be the new ethos of retaining everything. Does impose a rethink.
It's a complete rethink.
Yeah.
I think it's great.
Yeah.
It adds the reason for it. The reason for the full retention rule was stage reset, and we'd had some issues timing wise, and ROs going forward, but perhaps they shouldn't have gone forward to pick up people's.
I lost my mag at 75 meters.
Yeah. So that's the reason, but there is also. It takes a bit of the game. It takes a bit of the game of monkeying out of it. But provided your gun doesn't suck. I mean, what have I shot? I've not shot the same rifle twice. Because I've shot a Colt SP1, so first gen civilian AR-15, AR-18, M17S bullpup. What was Stoner do? So if we count SRA in there, which I was using as kind of practice, yeah, I'd shot the same one at the rifle that I shot in Brutality. But in Brutality terms, AR-18, SAR-80, L1A1.
And number 4.
Number 4, Franken rifle for one day, and then CZ 600 trail.
That
second
counts.
day. What else have I shot? I must be missing something. Oh, AK SRA.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got a sort of broad background, so I'm not stuck in one particular manual of arms, one particular way of dealing with it. I've cocking handles on the top, on the left side, right side, properly left side, properly right side.
Yeah.
I don't get very fixated in a particular paradigm. I'm flexible in my thinking with it, but people who get very fixated in one rifle, they come unstuck, and that's where Giga jokes about trying to cock a foul by doing that, something like that. Yeah. That's where that comes from. And I think it's fascinating. I think the overall answer is that with Brutality, not sucking has the greatest
that's the main thing.
The rifle has a bit of a less effect unless the rifle sucks. I mean, a stock AK sucks. The sights suck. They're not very accurate. I mean, Brutality has the general principle that you should be able to complete it with a stock AK. Mm-hmm. Not that you do well with a stock AK, but you should be able to complete it with a stock AK. But I really found out at Hattila 2023 that when you think, okay, 300 meters, I'm having no trouble shooting into this on a proper target with a proper background. But when it's just this thing standing out there in the countryside, suddenly that changes everything. And what would be it might take me 3 rounds on the range here with a backer and everything, the electronic targets, and and with feedback, so I know where I am. Once you've just got a target that falls when hit and is blue or silver and just out there 300 meters away, and you've got these huge, great, chunky open sights. That changes things, and it's like I didn't feel disadvantaged out to about 50 meters. Beyond that, those sights ate my lunch. Mm-hmm. And on a static range at 300 meters, I can shoot okay for what it is with those sights. Yeah. So your second favourite rifle and pistol?
Second favourite? I don't know. Second. I don't really have a first. I just go with it. I guess second, FAMAS. I like it, but it's not practical. With that sight offset, it's such a pain, especially with the VTACs. Anything that you've got to take a weird aiming position, it sucks. It's a practice thing as well, which I don't get. So, something with a more conventional line of sight is one up on the FAMAS. Even the VHS2, because it's slight, but it makes a lot of difference.
It's not as extreme.
Yeah, that VTAC was okay. That was fine. Yeah. Brutality. As for the pistol, no, I don't have a first or second really.
So my first choice, if you said with all your gear that you've got to go and do a Brutality and try and win it, which is beyond me. My Glock 17 with the red dot, Holosun 509. If there's no spinner, then what would Stoner do? If there's a spinner, I think I'd actually take my L1A1.
2 shots?
Because getting a spinner over in 2 shots versus, oh my god, the thick end of a mag, and then with every chance of screwing it up. I was amazed at how the L1A1 performed. So matches with spinners, 308 is winning.
So
there's no fast double taps, or rarely fast double taps. So if you're going to have to recover and transition anyway, okay, it's a 4.5 kilo beast compared to my 2.5 kilo. What would Stoner do? Which
brutalities don't do double tap anyway.
No, they used to, but it gets very hard for the ROs. Particularly if you've got somewhere where you can support. If you can, it's very difficult for the RO to tell whether you've made one hit or two hits. So, and also the other point is, if we're moving a bit towards realism here, what target stands there long enough for you to double tap at that distance, at rifle distance.
All right.
My second favourite rifle, the SAR 80, probably, with irons. I wish I could put a dot on it. I might break down and get Matt to put a little
figure it out.
Little bit of rail on the top, because that really blew it out the park for me at Lynx last year. That surprised me how well that performed and how much I enjoyed shooting it, because it's like everything's behind the curve compared to an AR-15, but that was so much less behind the curve than I expected. I really liked it. I might have to use it again.
All right. Matthew, what's your favourite historical/collector's piece you'd like to take out and shoot? Ooh. I think probably the Dreiser rifle. Not the Chassepot.
Not the Chassepot, you traitor to your Frenchness.
Yeah. Because it's such a stupid mechanism and complicated. And it takes, especially if you want to shoot with the proper egg-shaped, with a stupidly shaped bullet, with a stupid sabot, and when you get all the combination of components just right, it's so much satisfaction when it works, and you get a good group on the target, and actually at the end also it's relatively easy to clean, and it looks good. Brass, wood, steel. Yeah, that's me.
Mine is actually my Sterling Mach 4. And then when you think, ooh, is that really historic? This is a 70-year-old thing. I mean, I'm stuck. It's this thing of, there's all these memes of like 30-year-old AR in your head, 30-year-old AR in reality. It's like, when I think, okay, when I started shooting in the mid-90s, like, so mid-50s, 60s, 70s, so it was a 40-year-old design. It had just finally gone out of British service not that long ago in REMF and the TA REMF service. But now we're 30 years on. It's a 70-year-old GAT.
Yeah.
And I love it. It's brilliant. And I win outlaw pistol caliber carbine classic matches with it. It's just such a brilliant, fun thing to shoot, and it's reliable and just everything about it, and it's just fundamentally it's an angry tube. It's an angry tube gun. But it's just such a little sweetheart. It's got practically no recoil. You think it looks kludgy with that stock, but I mean, you've shot it.
Yeah, it's fine.
It's actually ergonomically, it's great.
Yeah.
It's balanced. It's light. It comes up and it just goes slunk, 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 slunk. And I had it out today. I love it. Absolutely love it.
It's just like classic cars. I think this definition is shifting now. Unfortunately, the laws are not shifting with it.
No.
So 70-year-old design is same level as something modern. So it makes you think of what the collector market in 50 years. So far beyond us is going to be like, because the collector rifle then is going to be what VHS 2 and what's a Perun or something.
Yeah. And then rifle wise, I mean, my number 4, like it's like the peak performance of the bolt action, the military bolt action service rifle. It is the absolute peak of performance. You can, I mean, I know it's fashionable in America to rag on them, but they're wrong. You're wrong. Sorry, you're wrong. This is peak. This is what peak performance looks like. And a lot of it is Bubba doing horrible things to them, or garbage tier ones that should have been dumped at sea, or user error. And I really need to do some ragging on some people failing to load stripper clips. It's like, what? You haven't loaded the stripper right. You're using the wrong hand. You're pushing it in the wrong place. It's like RTFM.
That's what YouTube Shorts are for.
Exactly. I need to look up this one that particularly offended me and make a little response short, like. Pistol wise, my hyper. So we're all into the sort of that World War II plus minus era for me, which has always been my era of interest.
All right, Timothy, skipping this one. Sorry.
Wait, no, we missed one. We missed one.
TJ. TJ.
What do you know about the SIG rifles which took part in the Finnish assault rifle trials in 1958? Hope there's a video coming someday. This is Dale's domain.
That's Dale's domain, yeah.
I will poke him and try and get him to do one.
Yeah.
Basically, it is a shortened Sturmgewehr 57, shortened, lightened, reconfigured Sturmgewehr 57 taking AK mags. I would love if someone repro'd them. I would absolutely have to have that, because it is such an awesome idea. There was also an AR-10. I don't think they shortened. I think it was a standard receiver length, but again, AK mags. That's really cool. I mean, the Finns trialed some really cool stuff, and then decided that they'd just work from a Type 2 AK.
It'd be worth the wait for Dale to have a look into that.
Yeah. I think he's possibly even got someone lined up to do a cut and shot on an actual Sturmgewehr 57.
Yes, he knows where one. Well, yeah.
I think he's
the actual one.
Seen the actual.
Yeah, the actual one he can get access to for a vid.
But isn't that just cool for the trials? A 7.62x39 AR-10 and a 7.62x39 Sturmgewehr 57 in the same trials, and then they just take a Type 2 AK. Cheaper.
Yeah. In the end, it's down to money.
Yeah. So, Timothy, sorry, personal question, not doing them. Daniel. Monsieur Le Chef,
what are your thoughts
on the French adoption of the
HK
416 over the FAMAS or a standard AR? Their adoption of the Glock, I think, is certainly wiser than the US or the M17. Well, there's two questions here. We'll do that one first. Because they're related.
I think this is related to the Swiss question that was up the top. It absolutely makes... I mean, first of all, the FAMAS needed replacing. The ones I had in service were ragged. Everywhere I went, when I went back to France close before the adoption of the HK, it's not uncommon to have patrols around train stations and stuff, and they were practically in the white. the metal parts, they were ragged.
When were the last ones made?
I don't know.
Early 80s?
Also, I don't know what the situation was in terms of refurbishment. If, like the Swiss, they can basically hardly make any replacement parts, barrels, that kind of thing.
This is becoming... The Sturmgewehr 90 replacement is going to become a significant question.
Yeah.
It's a question of when, it's not if. They cannot keep supporting this system.
Yeah.
And the FAMAS was the same, but in a professional army, and
and who are active all over the place.
Yeah.
So it was a very sensible decision. You can argue whether the HK particularly was a wise choice over any other.
I mean, they're piston, which unless you're going to use suppressors, I'm generally not in favour of.
Yep.
They're overly heavy because Germany.
Germany. Yes. But I mean, the fact that it was HK was a blatant political decision.
Oh God! Yeah.
So you don't even need to question why it was HK.
Yeah.
But the choice to switch to an AR was absolutely fine. There's all sorts of on forum. There's all sorts of sort of cope outrage about, oh, we had the Valor FAMAS that we could have done, but with what industry?
Who, what, where, who's going to make it, when?
Yeah. So they had a few. They did do some, and some saw service, and the same with G2. But time was running out. So
you can't keep supporting these things forever.
yeah. So I have absolutely no. I don't want one because it costs about $5,000.
You can get the same performance for half that.
Yeah. So if I can find one for less than $2,000, which isn't going to happen,
No.
then might have one.
The only way we're going to get him behind owning an AR is if it's a clone of the French model 4 and 6.
Yeah. And the second bit is SIG USA held in high regard in Europe. Their QC seems to be far removed from the company whose coattails they ride.
This is the point where we throw our heads back and laugh. No. No. American SIG. No, you get a lot of stuff. The American SIG stuff here that is sold, and they try and hide the fact that it's American SIG.
Yeah, unfortunately, Made in America stamp on the side.
It's not
not well
thought of. I mean, German SIG Sauer versus Swiss SIG is already a step down in build quality, and SIG USA is just terribly sorry. Terribly sorry, chaps.
Yeah, so hopefully we don't offend you.
But no, there's not. I mean, literally, because the new build P210s they were German made to start with, weren't they?
I've seen a few of the concealed carry ones have come over. Ridiculously priced.
What? Yeah. See, the thing is, American stuff by the time it gets here is overpriced. So. I was at Munitions Depot a while back, and they had one of the American-made new build high powers, and it retailed here. The retail was like 1,700 Swiss francs.
Ooh, yeah.
And I paid 450 for a mint genuine Belgian Mark 1, 1974.
Yeah.
Okay, I got a very, very good deal on that one, but it's like you can buy the real deal for under $1,000 in good condition, and then I took this in my hands, worked the slide, and was like, that's not 1,700 francs worth of pistol. Scrapey, build quality, it's like, it's not even a good clone.
Yeah. Whereas you get a 210.
They've gone up in price.
They've gone up in price, but still, and you got something that's like glass.
Yeah. That came out of the factory in the 60s like that. Yeah. Sort of tangent on the P210 is that people haven't adopted the new build ones, whether German or American.
No.
I mean, they've opened up what's allowed in competitions to if it fits a box and is 9mm or 765 para. And there's some silly marking requirements, but aside from that, it's fairly open. And if you're going to spend silly money on a modern gun because you don't want an original 210, there's Sphinx, there's... Well, they're old now as well. God, I'm getting old.
Phoenix, yeah.
So the successor to Sphinx.
Yeah.
It's Phoenix. People are buying CZs, top-end CZ match guns, things like that. It's like,
There's still some that, they could do before, I didn't change anything, but still labour on with their P75s.
Yeah.
It's usually people that don't have time. They just, I'll just take my service gun.
Yeah.
Just do it.
I mean, and then people, you got some people who shoot with their service gun out of principle because they are issued a P75, which is the Swiss-made 9mm P220. So the 8-round single stack.
Yeah.
It looks like a P226, same configuration as a P226, but it's a single stack 8-round, and it's Swiss-made, not German-made. And yes, they are better made than the SIG Sauers, made in Germany, but they're still tonk.
Yes.
They're still tonk.
You get some shocking groups from people. It's
not just the people. I mean, they are fine
what the result is,
as a service pistol.
Absolutely.
But they don't go for very much money. You can pick them up, ex-service ones, for relatively little because they're not well thought of, and people shoot them because they have to. I, as a 25/50 meter pistol Schützenmeister, I could ask for the feds to loan me one, and I said I could do that because free gun's free gun. And he said, well, why would you want to do that? Like, just because free gun's a free gun, and because why not? He's like, but you won't use it. Like, you got a point.
That's not what it says in the terms and conditions.
Legit point. Anyway, sorry, we're mixing up.
Yeah.
We're
I'm going to get one too.
tangenting. Well,
I'm a Schützenmeister as well, so I can get one.
Yeah.
But my view was, probably not going to use it. But if someone's on the range and something goes wrong, I've had hands-on and take it apart.
I have a 226. I've had a 226
Yeah, you've got a 226 anyway.
decades and not used it, aside from with the 22 conversion kit on it.
Yeah.
So that was quite tangential. Let us see if
anyone managed to get into player.
I'm so sorry that screwed up. No.
Nope.
Unfortunately, so sorry, player people. More than 10% of the crowdfunding is via player rather than Patreon.
Yep.
Which is interesting. In fact, it's about 15% of the crowdfunding is via player, not Patreon, which is good. I like having a variety of options for people. We didn't jump on Subscribestar when that happened, but if we look at what CN Arsenal are doing, it's Patreon and player. We decided we weren't going to have a million different options when that happened. We waited to see what would come out, and then player kind of convinced us. So that's what we use. The channel is still published to other places like BitChute and I don't know, but I don't monitor that anymore. Yeah. The only places we actually monitor are YouTube, obviously, and player.
And if anyone from player is watching,
so sorry. If you put anything, we'll do it next time.
I mean more from player, the company.
We have a direct line to the CEO.
Yeah, but still, can you please improve the comments section? Because it's annoying to use.
You can...
or bug him. I don't know.
Talk to him yourself. Literally. He's actually French.
Okay.
I want to talk to you? You talk to me in French?
I shall vent my anger.
Don't.
No, of course not. No, but it is.
From the content creator's perspective, the content, the comment handling is a bit.
Because you can't see if there's replies. It says 6 comments or whatever, but then you don't see if those comments have had replies.
Yeah, it's early days, but it's the most promising of all the alternate platforms.
Certainly, yep.
So I think that just about wraps it up. I'm just going to quickly refresh this page just in case anything has come in. He said no. So that is about it.
You're empty.
I am. Thank you. So there you go. We would like to do these more often, but we live a long way apart again, which doesn't help. And then it tends to be impromptu when I'm here.
That's it.
And I don't have that much space at my new place.
Shooting in the same vicinity.
Yeah. I mean, the 50-metre range we do a lot of filming at is like literally 15 minutes from me.
For me, yeah. But it's an hour away from me.
But it's an hour away from him.
Yeah.
And if he comes up on a weekday or something, I'm at work, so it doesn't necessarily work out.
Yeah.
So we are plodding along. I would very much like to be in a situation where I could lose a day a week of the day job, and that would then give me the headspace and the time to do more of the in-depth historical stuff again. But midterm, that's not going to happen, unfortunately. But we shall see how things progress.
Maybe future projects, things coming up.
Future projects. CZ have given me a 600 trail.
Woohoo!
It's not arrived yet, but they have sent me one. It has to.
You've seen how much he was fluttering his eyelids at Linux.
Yeah, I mean this this is a game changer for the sort of modern tactical-ish practical bolt action, I think, and I'm going to do some work with that when it arrives. I might even spend some channel funds on a second one of 300 Blackout.
Ooh.
I'm not sure yet though. But yes, this will be the first sample GAT that we will have been that will have arrived. There is a company in Australia with a pump action AR-15. There is one of them on the way.
Okay.
I have no idea when that will arrive. Things take a while to get out of Australia. So that's fun. There's the AR-10s, which will come up.
Yeah.
Budget permitting, maybe even something a bit more modern in the same vein, but I will keep about that, as literally that is the big budget post. What else on your side? You were filming today.
Yeah, I was filming today. Got 2 mad minutes, one which was ridiculous, but hey, I had the ammo, so I did it anyway. I've got the shot the Pillar Beach rifle, which probably world exclusive. I have also taken footage of down the barrel.
Ooh.
So you can see what's happening down the barrel. Obviously not at the shooting, but the different stages just before shooting. Mad minutes. I've got a lot of stuff which is bookwork, which is sort of following on from the French infantry training manual. I'm going to have a look at what the chasseur did in training compared to the infantry. And one of the bit nice fun ones will be Snyder versus Schneider, or Schneider, which is so to give a quick pointer for those who don't know. There's this very common conception in British firearms development literature that the French blatantly stole the Snyder when they made their version of it by having this fictitious person that's suspiciously called Schneider, very close to Snyder, and yeah, this guy patented something sometime, honest, and we use that, so we don't pay royalties to Snyder. So since patents are our bread and butter, literally, I thought, right, we'll go and see how much truth there is in that. So that's something I'm working on at the moment, which is fun.
I've got other things I got that might bubble up to the surface. Some 2.2 training rifles.
Yeah.
Your old Lee Metford carbine.
Oh yes.
Which I still haven't got around to doing. The War Office rifle that I had off. You have the other one. Have you still got that?
You've got.
I've got the one with I've got the LSA with the magazine.
Yeah, that's the only one.
That's the only one you had.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you had a BSA without a magazine.
No.
I will just have to mention there's some with a magazine.
Yeah.
I have a number 7, I have an early and a late number 8. I've picked these up over years. Jeez, this is not recent. These are not recent acquisitions. These are things. The more recent acquisition is an N9, sometimes incorrectly referred to as a number 9, which is the naval one. So I got all of that. Probably a bit of patent nerding out on the Stoner gas system patent, because that's fascinating. A bit of actually regarding the actuallys about whether it's DI or not, and spoiler, it's not only DI, it is the most DI. It is the most DI of all the DIs. In fact, remind me before we go, I want to take a little bit of footage of your one of your mass DI GATs.
Try to get more DI than that.
But the gas only acts on one part of the bolt carrier group.
That is true.
Whereas in so I'm giving the game away here. Whereas in the Stoner, it's on
Zip
2 parts. Anyway. All sorts of stuff like that. There's so much in the head. It's just not got the time and the energy to do it.
It's funny because sometimes you think, I'm done. I can't think of anything. Because we have the basis of we want to show you things that we are interested in, so that we present it to you, let's say, with passion, because we want to share this. And sometimes it's like writer's block, I guess. You just, what can I show that I want to show you?
The problem is, I probably have a bit of high functioning ADHD going on, so I get a hyperfocus on stuff, and I have to use the hyperfocus, weaponize the hyperfocus to make gun videos about it, which will sometimes mean that we end up with 3 or 4 videos on a similar topic, because that's what my hyperfocus is on. But once that hyperfocus moves on, going back to the other stuff, I mean, other things, stuff on recoil, theory behind recoil, the physics of recoil, how all that works. That's all stuff that's been floating around in my head for a couple of years, and I need to get onto that. But with the day job and real life, if it's not a hyperfocus at that moment,
it's not happening.
It's like I've got to go back and like rediscover the energy for it when I've got a new hyperfocus, and that new hyperfocus takes it off. So at the moment, I'm shooting a lot of 22 at the moment. So I was filming recently. I was taking accelerometer measurements on a 22 AR and stuff like that. So anyway, that's kind of this is not our day job. Exactly. We both have a day job.
And I have a very very long term project, which is why these 2 blue guns are about.
I was wondering why you had these.
I think this one's got suspicious felt pen marks over it. Yes, I want to make the flint Glock a thing.
The flint Glock.
Yes, an actual flint Glock. And I'm using, the idea is to use blue gun as the stock.
The
chassis, exactly. So yeah, for the moment I'm trying to figure out geometry. Since it is effectively building a firearm, I need to talk with Robert G with Green to see how we handle the legal aspect.
Legal aspect. These fall under the Weapons Act.
Yes, these are a contract. I had to sign a contract for these.
Yep, you don't have to deposit a copy of the contract with the police, but you have to exchange contracts with the seller and retain it for 10 years because it is a realistic replica.
Yep. So so I'm going to try and do that in a way that is not just good enough for the meme, but properly. And also, since I'm doing it, I may as well make a snap Glock or a match Glock, and maybe even a wheel Glock.
Wheel Glock.
A wheel Glock. So we'll see. But I'm doing this also as a project to say, how can I optimize the design? Because basically the designs are all standardized. The mainspring goes here, the sear goes here, and they're all the same. You don't, because you've got to change the geometry anyway. So why not use perhaps unconventional configurations? So that's an even more long term, because it's when have I got time to sit down, think about it, machine bits and pieces and try it out and make bits out of wood and mock-ups and all that. So don't hold your breath for that one, but that's a big project.
Both of our day jobs have become quite busy over the last few years, which is also my excuse as to why the Swiss Straight Pull series has not progressed in quite a while. I am 2 house moves since the last episode on that, and I'm terribly sorry, but that is unfortunately how it is until such point as the channel makes enough income that I can take income out of it rather than just ploughing it. Everything that comes in to the channel as revenue after tax, because we're not running it through a company, because that just complicates things here. It's not the same as in the States, so we're getting a common law jurisdiction. It all gets ploughed back in, one way or another. In fact, overall, this project has cost us money.
Oh yeah.
We are not in the plus. There is stuff that we pay out of pocket that doesn't go into the Excel sheet. Okay, just so you know, because people get a false impression about this. It's like literally everything that we get plus some out of pocket goes into it. It's it be how it be.
Well, we'll keep pottering along.
But yep, indeed, we're still here. We've been doing this for 7.5 years now.
Oof. Yeah.
And hopefully we'll still be here in another 7.5 years' time pottering along still. Probably still with unfinished projects from about 3 or 4 years ago.
We'll be in the veteran category in Brutality.
It's not going to be long. Right, anyway, thank you so much
very
for watching.
much.
If you enjoyed the blather up to now, please consider joining us on the app. Please consider supporting us on Patreon or Player. And if not, like, subscribe, salty comment, share, usual stuff. And see you again sometime.
See ya.
Bye.